We're squarely in the final leg of a very long wait for one of 2025's biggest releases. Ghost of Yotei is now less than a month away, and is going to be a big one for Sucker Punch after it introduced us to Jin Sakai and his harrowing effort to save Tsushima from the Mongol invasion in Ghost of Tsushima. With a new map to explore and a lot to do in it as we step into the shoes of Atsu, a woman who has nothing to lose and everything to gain from her quest for revenge against those who uprooted her relatively peaceful past, Ghost of Yotei seems all set to build on everything good about the franchise's maiden voyage. We thought it would be a good idea to take a look at how Sucker Punch plans to do things differently this time around. To that end, here are 15 differences between the two titles that are primed to make Ghost of Yotei feel like a whole new adventure this time around. And note, all of this information in this feature is based on officially revealed sources. A more dynamic open world. The lands of Ezo are quite dangerous for people who cannot handle the threats that they present. Fortunately, Atsu doesn't count among them and is set to build her legend among its folks in more ways than one. Sucker Punch has been quite enthusiastic about its efforts to make exploring its new map more organic and rewarding for those among us who just like to hop onto our horse and ride on to whatever catches our eye. Beautiful fields, flowery paths that give Atsu a speed boost, and a whole lot of other things to do as she blazes a path to revenge are slated to make Yotei a current-gen open world that could shake things up from the genre's tried and tested traditions. And while the map is going to be a similar size to Tsushima, its scope is looking far more ambitious. A new way to track important quests. Like Jin, Atsu is going to meet a few interesting folks on her path to bringing an end to the Yotei Six. Unlike Jin, she gets a very cool way to keep track of them via a new clue card system. Making excellent use of the game's unique art style, this is an addition that we're eager to see for ourselves as we dive into this adventure. That's because while the journal system from the original game was quite effective at fulfilling its purpose, Sucker Punch's new way of tracking important quests and information looks and feels a lot more immersive, a reflection of the time period the game is set in and a very unique visual reminder of the people who matter in Atsu's tale. An innovative approach to discovery. Ghost of Tsushima had a lot of interesting folks who formed the bulk of its supporting cast, as well as many troubled inhabitants of Tsushima who needed Jin's help. So what did they all have in common? Jin had to go to them to learn more about their needs, or perhaps even trade with them or upgrade his gear. It was in line with a more traditional approach to open world titles, but that was 5 years ago. We're truly in a new age of gaming experiences, and Ghost of Yotei is taking a very inspired approach to its side content. Atsu can camp in the open world, relaxing for a moment by playing her shamisen, which we'll get to in just a minute. But that's not all that happens in your camp. You could very well have one of the open world denizens find you and share your fire, providing you with useful information and perhaps even pointing you in the direction of your next quest. It's a refreshing approach to discovering new content, and is probably going to save Yotei's players a lot of time, which they can now spend achieving their objectives instead of just seeking them out. New mission types. There's going to be a lot of new ways to engage with the lands of Ezo, and Atsu's journey is set to put some very dangerous individuals in her path, the Yotei Six notwithstanding. If you're looking to grow her legend and perhaps earn a bit of cash for those weapon and gear upgrades while doing so, bounty hunts are now a part of the franchise's excellent gameplay loop. For those of you who like to let their weapons do the talking, these missions are a major new addition that cement Atsu's role as a mercenary instead of an honorable samurai like Jin. A new forecast for a new land. One of our favorite parts of Ghost of Tsushima was the fact that the weather changed the more that we leaned into Jin's transformation into the ghost, going from bright and sunny to dark and gloomy, with thunderclouds making their presence felt the more Jin left his honorable roots as a samurai behind. The island of Tsushima seemed to mourn the loss of one of its sons, and reflect the dark path that he chose. However, Ezo isn't Tsushima, and with a lot of varied biomes populating its vast expanses, it could prove to be very different from Tsushima, and perhaps even add more variety to the weather as a result. While it remains to be seen if we're going to witness changing seasons like in Assassin's Creed Shadows, it would be fair to expect a more dynamic weather pattern in play as we dive deep into Ezzo's many mysteries and perhaps even have them influence the gameplay loop on offer in Ghost of Yotei. Hunting the new antagonists. Kodu Khan didn't bother concealing his presence in Ghost of Tsushima. Jin knew where he was for most of the story, simply lacking the means to take him head-on until he rallied the disparate forces of Tsushima behind the banner of the Ghost before repelling the cunning Mongol leader. The Yotei Six are far more insidious, weaving themselves into the very fabric of Atsu and running things from the relative safety of the metaphorical shadows. Atsu is going to have to make the most of Etsu's new exploration mechanics and all of Sucker Punch's best changes in her quest for revenge, and hunt down each of these terrifying threats by fostering a connection with the land and its people. The price of revenge. It wouldn't be a Ghost title if it didn't have complex themes to tackle. While details remain scarce about the price Atsu will have to pay for her revenge, we're certain that her tale is going to be just as poignant as Jin's. While Ghost of Tsushima saw Jin gradually replace his notions of honor and tradition in the face of the Mongols' tactics, Atsu has already left her old identity behind, forging a new one to extract a very steep price from the ones who made that a necessity. Perhaps she learned of Jin's legend, passed down over the 3 centuries between their lives. Well, either way, her narrative conflicts are going to be something to look out for as she embarks on her hunt. Past participation. While the flashbacks to Jin's past were a very crucial part of Jin's character arc in Ghost of Tsushima, they often came at moments that interrupted important scenes in the present. Sucker Punch seems to have taken a note of that oddity and has introduced a clever new way for its players to witness Atsu's own tragic origins. In what we see as a very immersive twist, players can now flit between her past and present at key areas in the game, witnessing more of the life she left behind courtesy of the Yotei Six, and perhaps gaining insight into her motivations as a character. It's a very cool wrinkle to the franchise's formula and could potentially be a great way to introduce a bit of exposition in the game's narrative. A new, more willing Ghost. Jin's reluctant transformation from honorable samurai to the ruthless ghost was a key part of the original game's emotional heft. However, as a mercenary hell-bent on revenge, Atsu's willingness to do what's necessary is going to set her apart as a protagonist. Sucker Punch's enthusiasm about her taking on the role of a demon or Onryo is sure to shine through in the narrative. How much is going to remain of Atsu once she's had her revenge against the Yotei Six? How far will the Onryo be willing to go in her quest to end their tyranny? Well, like you, we just cannot wait to find out. Different warriors, different minds. While Jin composed haiku and played his flute as a somber way to prepare his mind for battle, Atsu takes a similar yet different approach to a similar goal. In tune with the franchise's emphasis on nature, Atsu undertakes the art of sumie as a way to unwind, a parallel to Assassin's Creed Shadows that is sure to draw a few comparisons. She replaces the flute with a shamisen that's set out to be more than just a musical instrument. It's a way for players to tell the game where they wish to go next. Unlocking different songs to play lets you tailor exploration based on your needs. That's a really cool way to make your music work for you, well, if there ever was one. Revamped combat. Jin's ability to switch stances on the fly thanks to his years of training with the Sakai family's katana makes way for Atsu's experience with a variety of weapons thanks to her role as a mercenary. You now switch weapons as you take on varying opponents, with each move set being more suitable to counter the particular attacks of an enemy's weapon type. But Sucker Punch hasn't been content with its inventive switch-up and added in the possibility of Atsu losing her weapon in the heat of battle. You could find yourself forced to take on an enemy who wields the weapon you need, and disarm them in order to deal with the one who did the same to you. It's a change that could make each fight quite unpredictable in Yotei, and is a very welcome one for that very reason. Firearms. Considering that Ghost of Yotei takes place around 300 years after the events in the previous game, it makes sense that firearms are now part of the commonly used weaponry, and Atsu certainly knows how to handle a gun. A trailer showcasing her proficiency with firearms indicates that gunplay could very well be a viable path to victory to those of you with steady trigger fingers. We just hope that it makes good use of the DualSense 5's advanced haptics to make the experience feel all the more authentic as a result. Part of a pack. While Jin primarily fought alone unless he was aided by another of Tsushima's residents, Atsu seems more in touch with nature, even managing to get a wolf to fight at her side. While Sucker Punch has been cagey about what her new companion is capable of, the gameplay showcase for Ghost of Yotei did have her wolf buddy taking a bite out of a few unfortunate opponents who were foolhardy enough to take the duo on. For our part, we're hoping for a few skills that let our loyal companion have a more active role in fighting that is coming our way. Choose your legendary director. Akira Kurosawa's influence on the first game is nearly as legendary as the director himself, but Ghost of Yotei is poised to bring in the cinematic talent of other notable names in the samurai film genre. 2 additional modes that reflect the techniques of Takashi Miike and Shinichiro Watanabe are going to make an appearance in the new title. Those standoffs are going to get a whole lot flashier. A new perspective. Considering the time period that the game is set in, Atsu's place in society is arguably one in which she is placed among the outcasts of a feudal setup that did not value a woman of her stature, considering all of the losses she faced before she decides to do something about it. That's a narrative wrinkle that could be the greatest part of her adventure, placing her in stark contrast to Jin. As an honorable samurai and the nephew of Tsushima's Jito, Jin's encounters with the denizens of his home were underlined with a sense of respect and trust. Ezo may do Atsu no favors, requiring that she earns their trust and perhaps fearful respect of those that she encounters. The gameplay showcase touched upon this, but perhaps Sucker Punch is saving the biggest ace up its sleeve for when the game releases. Alright, and that wraps up our list of the biggest changes from Ghost of Tsushima to Ghost of Yotei. We'd love to hear what you're most excited about, and perhaps even find some new perspectives from you. Just let us know in the comments, and join us as we wait with bated breath for a title that's going to test our skills and, well, tug at our heartstrings. And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.